Welcome everyone to another edition of the City of Atlantis AMAs in the Wales Lounge of the City of Atlantis. Wales, because Wales are basically the owners of this group. Although right now it's a bit open to a few more people, but the Wales are the reason why this group was created. I believe that everybody in here is a whale. We all have the whale mentality. We all know that things happen. It's been a very wild few days and maybe weeks in the crypto space. It seems like every big guy is crashing, and there are very few fish left in the ocean. But it is beautiful to see, because out of this, the strong projects will come out. Out of this, a stronger crypto space will come out. So I'm just saying, hold tight to the remaining positive things in the crypto space, of which we are a chief part, even though things have not materialized completely on here yet. We are consistently building. We know that times like this will come, and we have a framework that is designed to be able to basically stay strong even in the scariest of times, which the past few days especially have been. So on that note, I do say again, welcome to tonight's AMA. It promises to be super informative, it promises to be eye-opening, and it promises to just be, a fun ride through a lot of information. I would like to remind us that this series that we have been having weekly and sometimes fortnightly are what we are seeing as the community education series. So you're not here to just get what is being rolled out. It's basically a way for us to educate the community, to ensure that as we are building, the investors are carried along every step of the way, so that whatever contributions it is that they want to make along the line, whatever it is, whatever pieces that they do not understand, they are able to understand way before that fraction, that part of the entire framework is rolled out, before that part of the framework materializes. So just see it that way. See our Friday AMAs as that 1 or 2 hours on Fridays where you just, are relaxed. You're just here to basically get up to date on everything happening and get educated, sometimes re-educated, because what is life without learning and relearning? So yeah, that's just a quick run through of the reasons why we are having all of these AMAs every Friday. So just quickly take us through what we have been talking about in the past few weeks. So when we restarted this community education series, we went in with majorly a re-education on the city of the entire vision of the City of Atlantis, just explaining the vision to everyone, representing the vision, bringing it to the top of our minds, basically making it fresher on our minds. And then from there we went into, so this is not like, I'm not saying that this is what we did per Friday, but this has been the rollout that we've had for all our AMAs. So after that side of things, re-explaining, representing the vision of the City of Atlantis, we did go into our liquidity management system, right? We talked about the aquifer liquidity management system and how that entire ecosystem is structured in such a way that it is interconnected in so many ways, and it is being created so that its liquidity stays strong most of the time, and that it is able to make all of the necessary payouts and also be able to accept the depth of liquidity that we will be funneling into it, the various ecosystem protocols that are going to be built from the various ecosystem infrastructures. And after that, we went into ATL as generational wealth assets. We talked about how functionality is a must for anything to be a generational wealth asset. We compared the City of Atlantis tokenized lands to other existing traditional world generational wealth assets. You have real estate, but there you have some kind of stocks and all of those. So we did a deep dive into exactly how and what makes the City of Atlantis tokenized lands generational wealth assets. And then today we will be talking about something super exciting. Tighten your seatbelts. We're talking about the city of Atlantis and a particular framework within it that makes it a huge store of value. And of course, you guessed right, it is the financial framework, the core financial structure of the city of Atlantis, our investment portal. Of course, dApp, as a lot of us are more familiar with. So what we are saying tonight, what we will be expanding on tonight, is that the entire framework of the dApp of the city of Atlantis, of the investment portal of the city of Atlantis, is created to store value. So when we say store value, don't see it as, okay, it's just the bedrock that is the foundational systems of the dApp. No, every logic that is baked into the investment portal of the city of Atlantis is created so that it results in that framework being a store of value. So we have various parts to this framework. We have the DEX, the service vault, we have the treasury. So we are going to be explaining exactly how this different parts of the protocol interacts to ensure that value is maximally stored, value is maximally retained within this system, and not just retained for a very, very long time. So that is what Easy will be going into tonight. It will be giving us a few value simulations, projections, to just basically help us understand better, understand deeper how these interactions are going to be working from time of launch and even into the into the midterm and even long term. So I would, at this point, not want to go to it because I'm sure Easy has a lot to educate us on. I'll be inviting Easy on here to just, jump right in. Easy.
Hey, grand day, everyone. Grand day, community. Glad to be back in here for another presentation on the black paper. Let me bring up this screen here. And I kind of want to walk you guys through this. Every week, as Aderanke has said so wonderfully, we come in here and we break down our black paper to you. And this is our version of the white paper. And normally projects will write the white paper in the background. And then all of a sudden, you'll see it on the website where you can go and read it. However, transparency is very important to us. And our community is literally here watching us write our version of the white paper. Okay. So yeah, this is getting built out right in front of the community. And I was doing research on some reading on the scams in DeFi. And one of the quotes that I came across was, the reason why there's so many scams in DeFi right now, and because of that, is because transparency has been replaced with greed. And I can agree with that, in a way. But transparency is definitely not a problem here at the City of Atlantis. We are showing you guys everything that we are building. Okay. Okay. So today's topic is going to be on the store of value. And I know that when I bring up that term, some things that might come to mind is gold and also your Bitcoin. Okay, and we're going to talk about those things today. But with store of value, the definition is a store of value should be a asset that is safe. Okay, it's safe. It's something that is can be easily converted into another asset. And it's also something that you can expect to maintain its value or increase its value over time, even in situations when, the economy is not doing so well. So a store of value is something that you can rest assured that your money is safe and it'll maintain its value and increase in value as well. And I want to challenge the community today. I want to ask you a question. I want this to be a very engaging presentation and get our community thinking. I want you to think about your portfolio right now and ask yourself, just consider all the investments that you have in DeFi, right? All the different protocols where you have money and you're earning interest, or just think about all those investments, okay? And then ask yourself, are these investments a store of value, right? Do I feel safe with my investments, being in these different protocols right now? Or do I just have my money there for a short period of time, and then when the price goes up, I'm going to pull my money out quickly so I can get my profit because I know the price is coming back down quickly? So just consider your investments. Ask yourself, am I truly investing because I believe DeFi is a store of value? Or am I investing because I'm just here to make a quick profit? Okay. And I want to tell you that, City of Atlantis is here to create a store of value for our investors. Okay. And we're going to, explain or explore how we plan on doing that. So DeFi in general, let's explore the DeFi environment. Okay. Is DeFi investments itself safe? Okay. Might have to mute somebody. Everyone check your mics, make sure everybody's off. So I came across an article and it said that the DeFi market is valued at $77 billion. And according to Elliptic, a blockchain analytic firm, in 2021, DeFi lost $10 billion to scams. And this is partly because the environment, DeFi is unregulated and lacks consumer safeguards. And according to TRT World, the crypto hacks in 2021 was 3.2 billion. And this year, 2022, the crypto hacks was at 3 billion and was set to surpass the hacks of 2021. And then in these as we went through the black paper, we came across stats or statistics such as 92% of crypto projects have failed, since the beginning of blockchain technology, things like that. So, and also the lifespan of these crypto projects is only a little over a year. So just considering all these different statistics, can we really say that DeFi is a store of value? And if there's been so many hacks, so many scams, so many people losing money, is it even possible to make DeFi projects in your investment a store of value? Is it even possible is it possible to even find a project that is a store of value? Okay. But let's look at your personal experience. When you first came into DeFi, right? And you may have come across and got on into Telegram and, had some investor friends tell you about all these different types of crypto projects and just did your research. And a lot of times, especially, for me in particular, when I first got started investing in DeFi, the advice that I will always get is never invest more than you're willing to lose, right? And they'll also say things like, when you first put your money into these projects, you want to get your money back as soon as possible. That way you're investing risk-free. So just considering that type of advice that we get from these investors, that also tells us that this DeFi space is very risky. So if it's risky, maybe it's not a store of value. Now think back on all your investments right now. All your investments, all this money that you guys have in these crypto projects. Is it really safe? Is it really a store of value? And how can City of Atlantis help us to create a safe haven asset, a store of value asset for us? Okay. All right. So that's what this Atlantis economy is. Okay. This is what we're putting together to create, to make City of Atlantis a store of value for our investors. Okay. Okay, so let's define store of value. A store of value is an asset that maintains its value and can be saved, retrieved, and traded in the future at the same value or more. Now, think about the money that you have in RI dApps. Can that RI dApp be traded? Or is it something that you can only get your money out at a certain percentage per day? So based on this definition, if you can't take your account in that RI dApp and trade it into another asset, it may not be a store of value. It's illiquid. However, the interest that you're getting every day, the tokens that you're getting out of that dApp, I mean, that could be a store of value, right? If the project is safe and sustainable, the tokens could be a store of value because you can sell those tokens, transfer the tokens, for another asset. But the dApp itself may not be a store of value because it can't be traded. It's just there. Okay. And also another definition says that a store of value has a perpetual lifespan and infinite demand. So if you're invested into an RI dApp that has a cap on how much you can make from it, and as soon as you hit that cap, you terminate the contract, you no longer have that interest coming to you. By this definition, that says that RI dApp that you're invested in is not a store of value because it doesn't have a perpetual lifespan. Okay, and also infinite demand. If you're invested into a project, where you're getting your interest, is there infinite demand or deposits going into that project? If that dApp or application relies on user deposits, are those deposits infinite? Is there an infinite demand for that RI dApp? Or if after that dApp does well, price goes up, but then there's some volatility to the downside, and then that token for that particular project loses all of its gains and more because no more demand is coming into it, no one's buying the token anymore, then that project or that application investment may not be a store of value. Okay. But here at City of Atlantis, our dApp, the dApp that we're creating, you have the ability to earn a daily RI. Okay. But not only that, we're also removing max payout. We're removing the cap. So there's no max amount that you would hit and then that terminates the dApp. You would have to create a new account. With your RI dApp with City of Atlantis, you have a perpetual lifespan. As long as we have money coming into the system, your dApp will continue to pay you. So that's one thing that differentiates us from other projects, and also something that makes your investment with City of Atlantis a store value. There's a perpetual lifespan on it. And this is what's helping us to achieve that objective. I mean, just our objective in itself, tells you that we're building a store value for you, right? We want our project to be long-term, sustainable, and consistent. That's our objective. And what about infinite demand? We know that most projects, they have a user-based model where they're relying on user deposits in order to keep their RI dApp sustainable. But there's a limit to that, right? But with our dApp, our RI dApp, we're plugging into real world economies. And in these real world economies, you have essential products, and money is constantly flowing in these economies. And we're tapping into that and bringing that demand into our financial system, where we have a new dynamic of supply and demand, which is our Atlantis economy, where we can find infinite demand. Because in these economies, these real world economies, there's always something that people are going to buy. And we're tapping into that and bringing it into our system. And that's something else that is helping us to make our RI dApp, our financial system at City of Atlantis, a true store of value. So great that we're considering these things. Okay, now let's look at gold. Okay, the gold standard. We know that the gold standard basically means that you have a currency, your financial currency, that is backed by a particular value that's in gold. So your currency is redeemable for gold. So that's a gold standard. And of course, we're not using the gold standard anymore. We've changed that. We have a fiat currency now. So, but gold is considered to be a safe haven asset that does not lose its value even in economic crisis. And it's something that's always in demand, and it's also easily convertible. Now, gold is a good store of value because it's something that's easily convertible. But as we addressed earlier, when it comes to most RI dApps, these dApps are not something that can be traded. You can only get value out of them at a certain percentage per day. But with the ATL dApps, RI dApp, that's plugged into or connected to your ATL NFTs. So when you have that ATL NFT in your wallet and you log into that investment portal for City of Atlantis, that ATL NFT gives you access to your passive income account. So what this means is that you can trade, since you can trade your land NFT, you're also able to trade your passive income account. And this is something else, by definition of what store value is. This is something else that is making the City of Atlantis a true store value for our investors. Okay, risk aversion. That's risk. The risk is something that we're trying to remove, right? This is something that we're trying to remove. If you want to have a store value, you have to remove the risk that's involved. And one problem with this risk is volatility, right? There's a lot of volatility of crypto projects, of these tokens. And especially when it comes to Bitcoin, right? There's a lot of volatility. So because of this volatility and the possibility that the price of a token could go to zero, there's still risk there. Okay. And that will make a particular asset, or disqualify a particular asset from being a true store value. But for the ATL or IDAP, we have the Aqua token, right? That's our utility token. And that's a token that we're holding. However, in terms of the team, that's our store value. But for the investor who deposits into our IDAP, you're not holding the Aqua token, but you're giving pearls. And those pearls is a stable coin, right? And you're earning interest on that stable coin, right? So what this means is that whatever you deposit into that RIDAP, if you deposit $800, it's going to stay at $800 until we reward you pearls or until you make additional deposits. So what this has done is remove the risk in depositing or investing in RIDAPs. And this is something else that makes your investment with City of Atlantis a store value. Okay. It's good. I won't Shopify project. Okay. So we have the this cash balance theory as well. Cash balance theory is basically based on monetary economics, which studies the function of money. And with this cash balance theory, you have two schools of thought. One is the Cambridge equation, which says that the demand for money is based on the store the store of value, the perceived store of value of money. And then the Fisher economics belief is the other school of thought, which says that the demand of money is based on its ability to function as a medium of exchange. And when I came across this, I realized that I understood the relationship between gold and fiat and the dollar, right? So gold would be that Cambridge equation, right, where the demand for it is based on the store value. Because gold is seen as a store value because it performs well even when there's an economic crisis. So I see in this relationship, I see gold as a true store value. And then on the other side, I see the dollar more of on the side of the Fisher economist belief, right? Where demand for the money is based on its function as a medium of exchange. So we have this relationship between gold and fiat. And in this relationship, as it relates to our project, I see gold being our Aqua token. And the reason I see gold being our Aqua token is because gold is something that is reliable, is a sustainable asset, because we know that there's an infinite demand for gold. And since there's an infinite demand of gold, we know that the price of the gold of gold will increase over time. So it's stable, gold is stable, and the value of that gold will increase over time. And then for the dollar, well, that's why I see gold as our I see gold as our Aqua token, right? And that's because the Aqua token is something that is going to increase in value over time and increase significantly as well, because there is no sell pressure on the Aqua token. Okay, so Aqua is our gold for the City of Atlantis project. And then when it comes to the dollar isn't something that you can expect to increase in price, but it is something that is stable, right? So, but it can also inflate and lose its value as well. But this is still seen in this relationship is seen as a more stable asset. So I relate the dollar to BUSD because BUSD is pegged to the dollar and it's stable. So in our project, City of Atlantis, gold is seen as or the Aqua token is our version of gold, and BUSD is our fiat currency. One's for medium exchange, and one is for our store value. Okay. Okay, then we got cryptocurrencies, and Bitcoin. Bitcoin is seen as a store of value, right? And it's seen as a store of value because people expect it to have an infinite demand. However, Bitcoin is very volatile, right? The price of Bitcoin will go up very high, but then it'll drop significantly. Now, if we were to compare Bitcoin to the Aqua token, I would say that Aqua token is a better store of value. And I'm saying that because Bitcoin's price is going to go up, it's going to go down, but the Aqua token is something that its price will never come down. It's only going to go up because there's no sell pressure. And on top of that, since our team only has control of that token, we're able to control its price as well. So that makes the Aqua token a lot safer for our investors as well. Okay. All right. Let's move into this slide now. This is the City of Atlantis store of value. It's a safe haven for investor capital. And on this slide, what I'm showing here are the mechanics of how we are creating a store of value for our project. So I'll break this down. And then down here, I'm showing how that store of value is growing over time from 1 year leading up to, from the first year leading up to the year 2030. And one thing I want to mention is that for this store of value, we have a store of value for our investors on one end, which is your RI dApp and your ATL NFTs. And your dApp, or the value of your passive income account, will increase over time as the Aqua token goes up and as fresh capital comes into our system from the City of Atlantis. And as we receive this revenue, and as the price of the Aqua token goes up, we're going to reward our investors in the RI dApp pearls to increase the value there. So on one end, you have your store value for the investor, but on the other end, for our project, we have a store of value as well. And our store value is the Aqua token, that decentralized exchange pool, and also our treasury. So we have our store value there, and then the investor store value is that ATL NFT and the RI dApp. And here at COA, we're going to ensure that the value that we're getting from our systems is going to be transferred over to our investors as well. So you will benefit from that. Okay, so there's a couple of things I want to point out here with this system. What's happening here is that for our liquidity pool, right? This is just an example. For our liquidity pool, total liquidity is 888,000. And in the DEX, in the pool, we have 4,444. Okay, so that's the total balance for our Aqua token in this pool. And then the total balance for BUSD is 444,000. And these two reserve assets here is what's giving us our total liquidity of 888,000. Now, when a deposit is made into the RI dApp, they are depositing BUSD. And from that BUSD, it goes through a splitter. And I can show you this here. So at this point, we're here in the process. When that BUSD is deposited into the dApp, it's coming inside into the dApp, going into the aquifer, and it goes through this splitter. Okay, so that's where we're at now, where that value gets split. Once that BUSD value is split, 5,000 of that, this is a certain percentage, which here is 20%. 20% of that value is taken from the splitter. and $5,000 of that 50,000 is used to buy Aqua, and then the other 5,000 is used to actually create the LP. And when that $5,000 goes to the DEX, it's buying the Aqua token. And the price of Aqua in this example is $99.91. So this $5,000 will buy 50 Aqua tokens. And this will drop the Aqua balance from 4,444, which this should have been changed. This should be 4,444, not 43,000. So this dropped the balance of Aqua from 4,444 to 4,394. Okay, 4,394. Okay, so once the Aqua token balance drops, the BUSD that went into the pool increases the BUSD balance to 449,000. So we take the Aqua tokens, the 50 Aqua tokens, and then we're going to add that as liquidity. So first we have the buy transaction, which dropped our Aqua balance, and this causes impermanent loss, right? Because we lost some tokens. So that will cause impermanent loss to LP holders. But then when we take those Aqua tokens, we're going to pair those tokens with the $5,000 is there to create the LP. And then when we pair that, we create the LP and we add that back into the DEX. Now, when we add this back into the DEX, the Aqua balance is actually restored. Okay, so it went down to 4,394, but then once we added that LP back in, the balance goes up to 4,444, and we call this restored impermanence. Okay, this is what we call restored impermanence. So for every BUSD deposit into the ATL dApp, we have a process of buying from the DEX, buying Aqua from the DEX, and then taking that Aqua, creating an LP, and then redepositing that LP back into the DEX. And what this does, it restores what was lost. It restores the Aqua balance back to the DEX, back to 4,444. And then when that BUSD goes in, it increases our BUSD balance as well. So we go from 444,000 BUSD balance to 449,000 BUSD once the Aqua token is bought. And then we go to 454,000 once the LP is added back into the DEX. So we restored the impermanent loss here. And then we have something called an impermanent gain. And this impermanent gain is just the opposite of the impermanent loss that LP holders would normally experience. Okay. So this impermanent gain, impermanent loss is basically, to help you to understand impermanent gain, I can just explain how impermanent loss happens. Impermanent loss is basically the difference between the value that you have in the value of your LP as an LP holder, the value of your LP versus the value of the tokens in your wallet. So impermanent loss will happen when, give me 1 second here. 1 second, I'm sorry. Okay, I'm sorry about that. Okay, so when impermanent loss happens when the balance of the tokens in the pool would change. So if there's a buy transaction and I'm an LP holder, my tokens is going to be used to support that transaction. So my Aqua balance, if they're buying Aqua, my Aqua balance will actually drop, right? And once my Aqua balance drops, my BUSD balance will actually go up. right? Because Aqua's leaving, but then BUSD is actually coming in, and I have a share of the pool. So that's going to also change the balance of my LP, right? The balance of tokens in my LP. Now, the way that we actually measure impermanent loss is we look at the price increase, because if I'm buying Aqua, that's going to cause the price to go up. So I look at the value of the LP compared to the value of the tokens if they would have just stayed in my wallet with the price increase. And if the value of the tokens in my wallet that would have been in my wallet is greater than the value of my LP after the buy transaction, then I would have experienced impermanent loss. Now, I know that this might be complicated for some, but that's how impermanent loss basically happens. However, we are experiencing this impermanent loss here as the owners of the liquidity pool. However, after we experience this impermanent loss, since we're adding this, we're creating an LP and adding it back into the DEX, we're restoring what was lost. And then on top of that, we're adding additional BUSD back in, because we're adding fresh BUSD or fresh capital into the pool. So we have more BUSD than what we started with. And since the value of my LP actually turns out to be higher than the value that the tokens would be in my wallet, we call this an impermanent gain. And the definition of that term is relevant to what LP holders will experience in the LP pool when they experience impermanent loss. Okay, so these are the mechanics of the liquidity pool in terms of how we are increasing the balance or the value of our decentralized exchange, which we see this as our store value. And then from that 50,000 in this example, and once that BUSD goes to the splitter, we have an 8%. 8% of that BUSD actually goes to our treasury in this example. So we have $4,000 going to our treasury. So we're also increasing our store value here as well. And I have a spreadsheet where I replicate the liquidity pool, and I projected what our store value would be leading up to the year 2030. And it's all based on a liquidity pool of 4,444 and 444,000. Okay. So after the first year, our liquidity would be 2 million. So it will go from 888,000 to 2 million. And the Aqua price would be $214. And the reason we're able to achieve such a price is because our Aqua supply is pretty low. And our treasury would be 511,000. Okay, so we would have $2 million in our DEX, and we will have $511,000 in our treasury. And we will be able to achieve this with $700 buys on a daily basis. So not much is being bought. By the fourth year, our liquidity pool will be valued at $20 million, and the Aqua price will be $2,000. And the treasury will be $9 million, and daily buys will be $7,000. By the year 2030, the liquidity pool will be $60 million, the Aqua price will be $7,000, and the treasury would be $132 million. And this would be from a $10,000 daily buys on the DEX. So this will be our store value, our projected store value for the City of Atlantis project, which is a lot easier for us to predict since our Aqua token is something that you cannot sell. And this is based on basically the floor of what we are expecting to receive in our platform. So we're expecting to receive anywhere from $2,000 daily from our revenue streams all the way up to $500,000 of revenue streams into our system leading up to 2030 as our project is built out and we roll out Q3030, current, our society, and all these different things. So this is what we project to have, the bare minimum of what we project to have in the city of Atlantis by the year 2030. So this is how we are building store value for our investors and for our project in general. And this money and this treasury and this DEX is basically there to give us a lot more support and sustainability to all of the business activities within the city of Atlantis, such as the loans that we're going to be giving out to our investors once we begin to build our city of industry. This treasury and this revenue from the DEX will be leveraged to ensure that we're able to provide those extend loans to our investors. And it's also there to be used. The store of value is also there to create a banking system for our entertainment system, for our entertainment class. So the people that are in Q3030 that's promoting our products, and also our investors, the people that visit City of Atlantis, we will have a banking system for them as well, where they can have a savings account, a checking account, and other types of financial services. And this store value is there to help us to actually provide those services to the people of the City of Atlantis. So this is our store value, and it's so great to be part of a project where I can help a team to create a safe haven for investors, considering how risky DeFi is. And City of Atlantis is going to be one of the first projects that you can truly look at as a true store value, not just something that you come in, to make a quick investment and get a quick return, but it's a project where you can truly say that when I put my money into this project, I want to keep it there, right? And I want to keep it there long term. And that's not what we see with these DeFi projects today, right? When people give you advice on what to do, they tell you, make sure you get your investment back as soon as possible and never invest more than what you can afford to lose. But when people tell you to invest in gold, people don't tell you those type of things. They say, hey man, you should buy some gold, because it's a good place to put your money, right? So, we want to have that same sort of thing for the city of Atlantis. When you go and you tell people to invest in the city of Atlantis, we want you to say things like, put your invest with city of Atlantis. It's a good store of value, and you can expect the value to increase, right? There's a lot of risk that has been removed from investing, with the city of Atlantis. Okay. Okay, so one more thing here. Okay, so this is basically just an example, right? This is just an example of where we're headed. These are not exact numbers, not exact prices for the Aqua token. This is just an example of where we would like to be by 2030, just to give us a bit of direction. So that's what this is. And also, we put this together to develop our logic on how we can develop a store value for the city of Atlantis. But of course, this logic can be improved. When we first began development on this, we were debating whether we should just remove the treasury altogether and just have the DEX. And I went silent for a few minutes, and when I came back, we had decided to remove the DEX and only have the treasury. But we settled to just have both, right? So we have one where we can pull value out when needed, in case of emergency, and also to support all business activities within City of Atlantis. But this logic that we have will constantly be improved to ensure that we are creating, maximizing the store value that we can for City of Atlantis. Okay, so it will be improved over time. Okay. So that will conclude the presentation. Sorry for the noise in the background. So do we have any questions, or I can pass it on to Aranke? You can take it. Thank you very much.
All right, thanks a lot, Easy. Super, super informative. I mean, you took us through everything from just slightly touching on what the city of Atlantis is all over again, then just going directly into what our store value means to our investors and what the ramifications of that would be when our vision is fully executed or on the highway to being executed, really. And it's exciting the direction that things are going in. I mean, you made descriptions as to Aqua being our gold, BUSD kind of being our dollar, and of course, eventually the pearls tokens do parlay into that definition too of the dollar pegged stable currencies within the city of Atlantis, and how we have separate functioning mechanisms within the aquifer liquidity management systems from the DEX. And then I'll just maybe give a little bit of insight into the different functions that these are serving in this system of things. So we have the service vaults, we have the DEX, and then we have our treasury. These three things they house cash, they house funds, they house tokens, but the utility for them, they do centralize at a point, but then they have they have varying utilities per time. Of course, we all are familiar with the use case that DEXs have, which basically the use cases are really around supporting the price of a token and just providing a mechanism through which buys and sells can occur. Treasury, as the name implies, is the storehouse of majority of the cash value that we're going to be having. So a percentage of inflow will be coming in from direct investment into the investment portal. A bigger percentage of the treasury injections will be coming from a lot of ecosystem activity. So the treasury of the city of Atlantis represents the largest, the deepest, the strongest store of value within the entire ecosystem. So to have much more powerful mechanisms feeding into it, just to ensure that as time goes by, we have a very, very deep pockets to pull from when the need arises. And the service vault, as the name implies, is the direct point of payment for ROI within the investment portal. So you do see that these three things kind of house tokens at the end of the day, but they do serve different functions per time. And when you look at them, they do represent an overarching theme. They do carry an overarching message, which is ensuring that there is sustainably kept liquidity within the city of Atlantis. Give me a moment, please. And also to say, everything that we have seen, all the numbers that we have seen on this very dynamic and beautiful flyer that Easy has presented they are not specific figures from the token count, that is the supply, which we see as 4,444, to the different number stamps that are on this document. They are not necessarily predictions as to what will be, or maybe even close to accurate. They are just numbers that are put on here to just easily help us understand everything that will happen, to help us see the extent to which these things could grow. But of course, as we move forward, we will get more specific with these figures. But for now, just see them as directions as to where we're thinking of going, not specifics in any way, shape, or form. And on that note, I would like to say that everything we have heard tonight, everything that has been shown, everything that has been explained, everything that has been expanded on are just explaining things in a certain direction that the city of Atlantis is intending to create as much value, sell the value to the consumers, and then bring in the value derived. So value is two-phased, right? We provide value to the consumers, and then on our end, the value we receive from them, we ensure that we are housing them. We are, a word that Olu likes to use, hypothecating them. We are channeling them through various revenue streams to ensure that the value that we get, the monetary value that we get for services offered, for products sold, are they are sustainably housed. Sustainably housed goes in two directions, ensuring that we keep as much as possible in terms of savings, but then also ensuring that we are ROIing on them as much as possible so that our investors are properly served, so that we at the end of the day are able to achieve our vision of building an ecosystem, a digital economy on the metaverse that is targeted towards the tokenization of culture, the sustenance of independent artists in every vertical of the entertainment industry, and just basically creating generational wealth for all involved stakeholders, from production to consumption, from creation to consumption, from script to screen. Everybody that's involved in that pipeline is just well served, and then presented with opportunities for generational wealth. I do not want to take too much of our time from here onward, but I will like to give room for a few questions if there are any at this time. Any questions? Oh, and I did not say thank you so much, Easy. You were very, very explicit. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Any questions? It's exactly 1 hour since we began this AMA. Okay, no questions for now. If you do have questions eventually, maybe you listen to the AMA and there are some things that you feel like you need clarity on, please do not hesitate to put them on the group chat.
I have a quick question.
Okay, great. Daz.
Hi, Eddie. You're okay. Great day to you too. It's a great presentation. Thanks very much for that, to you and Easy. When it comes to a store of value, we're looking at the Aqua token as being that gold standard. Are there any scenarios where investors would want to hold Aqua and not just Pearls? Because Pearls, as I understand it, is for transaction on a day-to-day basis. If we make the analogy of the dollar. But even as investors in the real world, they want to keep hold of gold sometimes as that store of value, long-term store of value. So how does that work in the city of Atlantis? Because what I understood was that Aqua was controlled by the team, essentially, and not out there for anyone to just pick up and sell.
Thanks a lot for that very sharp question, Daz. Easy, do you want to speak to it before I maybe invite Olu and then I also contribute to it?
Yes, thank you for the question. Yes, we talked about this a lot in our meetings. We have a token where the price is going up significantly, but the investors aren't holding it. So no, we're not going to have a situation to where the investors hold the token. And that's because our main goal is to make this project as safe as possible, right? So that token is not going to be something that anyone can just sell. We want that to be a very, very valuable token. And since it's increasing in value significantly over time, of course, that becomes our store value. That becomes our gold for the City of Atlantis project, which we can leverage for other business activities within our system. And of course, we have a lot of things even outside of DeFi where we can leverage that value to create more value for ourselves, to bring better services and greater sustainability to our project in general. However, that value of that Aqua token, you can consider it to be equal to the value of the Pearls, because as the value of that Aqua token increases, it's going to also impact the value or the holdings of those Pearl tokens. Like I said earlier, as we receive more value into our system, we're going to translate that value over to the investors. It will reflect in your accounts as well.
Okay, so it's almost an indirect support or something like that.
Good. And also something I would like to. Okay, Daz, go on, please. Are you saying something?
No, I was just trying to understand the utility of the Aqua token. So if I got it right, it's going to be used for the whole City of Atlantis ecosystem, not just for ATL holders, but other businesses that will be coming on in the future. So it's kind of held in reserve to promote that and to support the Pearl's value as well. Is that correct?
That's correct. And I believe Adirante has more to add to it.
Yes, thank you, Easy. Something that I wanted to add is that what the increase in value of Aqua does is that it just creates a ripple effect around the entire ecosystem. So see it as a measure of how, should I say, how rich in reserves the ecosystem is, because investors do get ROI that is way more than the amount they invested. So say, for example, the max ROI within the vaults is maybe 300% or 260%, right? The higher the reserves we have, the more the possibility of us being able to sustainably make those payouts for years, for decades to come. So just see that Aqua as the gold reserves of the city of Atlantis that is indirectly translated to the investors in form of them being able to sustainably get their returns that they have been promised. And also remember that investors are not exposed in any way to impermanent loss within this ecosystem, because the value that you put in is represented in stables, and then you get your ROI back in BUSD stables. So just see the Aqua token as, even though you cannot directly handle it and benefit directly by maybe selling the token, benefit directly from its upward movement by selling the token, you are benefiting indirectly because it is part of the, should I say, foundational mechanisms through which the ROI vault is able to remain stable over prolonged periods of time.
Okay. Thanks very much for that explanation.
All right. You're welcome, guys.
I have a question, Aronki.
All right, please go on, Christoph. Good to have you.
This is Christoph. Hi there, everyone. First of all, thank you very much. This is, again, very insightful and concise and elaborate at the same time presentation of what the progress you're making entails. I'm, I always like your AMAs because they're so full of wisdom and very clever, thought out elements. I like the way how it's developing and shaping. Now, this might be an easy question for you guys. Is there a date set for all of this to start? For us to get involved? Or is it beginning of next year or spring or summer? What are your thoughts on time?
Oh, no, we're a lot closer than that.
Sorry?
Jesus Christ, that's my bad. I was talking to somebody else. I was talking on mute. My bad, Christoph. Oh, but I'll just answer it since I spoke in. It's sooner than that when we start. You got to imagine this is like a series of rolling out dApps. I mean, if you go back and look at the last series of AMAs we've shown that there's like a huge build out, and ATL is the first rollout. And I'm still, again, how many times are you guys tired of hearing people yell dates and not make it? Like, we keep asking, it's hard, so it's hard to define the exact date because we're still in like a heavy part of development. I know that it would be weird if this went on for more than another 90 or 120 days. If you ask me, we should be ready to kind of launch within 90 days or so. That's, if I was to guess, That's my guess. And that's my goal, is to, within the next 90 days, we got this thing out. But that's why you guys are watching it brick by brick be developed. So it should shut down your impatience to hurry up and get in it. But first, to understand like the process it takes to build it out. And if we weren't doing this, you know, we would lose the entire audience. I mean, because it's so much work that goes into developing these things in the beginning, and then also going through the logic of it all. And then once you've kind of figured that out, then you got to take it to the engineers and let them try to break it. And then once we've kind of got it to a place to where it makes a lot of sense, we go into, we start, putting it all together. And then that still is a process of, again, continuous polishing. And as you can see, like, we've already started on a lot of the UI UX parts. And so we're just trying to polish out the rest of our logic. And then once we go through that process of polishing this logic out and making sure it makes sense, and then by the time, because you guys in here are going to see everything before it launches. That's the great part of being in on this part of the project, is you get to finally watch a dApp be built. And it's more than just a dApp. This is an economic ecosystem. I don't want to just keep selling that this is an ROI dApp. It's an important part of the ecosystem and the future of the ecosystem, but it is not the whole thing. There's so much going on here, and it is a lot to, digest for a lot of people. But again, the ATL, the landholders, I'm looking for the landowners to be the smartest investors in our community, because what you're buying into is, the core value of the project, these NFTs, these land NFTs. And if you can understand how they connect to the ecosystem and the dynamic logic that's embedded into them, like this ROI dApp is firmware. That's how you got to look at it. And these are going to be the most advanced NFTs that you've seen in the market. They have appraisal values to them like it's land. This is what's going on here. So a lot of the coins are not, a lot of the stuff, the logic and the bigness of this, you can get lost in it very easily. But this is a game of also patience, because again, everybody should be tired of losing as well. And there's a lot of people on this phone right now who lost in DeFi. And so we should be at a point now, I'm looking for the strongest investors, who are the patient investors, the ones who want to educate themselves, and then also be able to articulate the project to other people, help people understand what you've invested into and how what you've invested to literally makes money. And so, and this is the intricate process. This is the hard part. This is the hardest part, really. This is the hardest thing to develop, because it's the heart of the ecosystem. This is the banking, DeFi banking, hypothecation, tracking, and distribution system of the entire economy of things.
Right.
And so that takes a lot of, thought to go through and really build this, because we got to figure out, how do we build something that can hold the money that we want to connect to it? Because the money is already there. And if you know me, I already got the money sitting there waiting. We just don't have the system yet. And so we have to just take our time and build a very, very strong system that has all the different attributes that we need to create a long-term investment. And that's why I posed the question. If you hold those aqua in your hand, you're just going to get price appreciation, and you're not going to get long-term sustainability in a protocol. If the city of Atlantis, so I don't want to say we, because it makes it seem weird. The city of Atlantis is holding the aqua tokens, and the value of this whole system will be transparent within your dashboard. There won't be nothing, not a nickel in our economy when it pertains to the core part of this business, that you won't understand where it's at, how much value, and all that stuff is in the ecosystem. We're not going to be hiding our contracts, if you will. And so we want to, and because we're doing that, we're being very transparent with this. We want to make sure that everybody really understands that the value mechanics that need to be put into this to create a long-term project. And so that's why, again, I posed you. If you hold the LPs, somebody unmute yourself, please. I think somebody's unmuted. I don't know who that is. If you hold your LPs, you're going to suffer. And if City of Atlantis is holding those LPs, you're going to get long-term sustainability. So you may get price appreciation, but you might get price depreciation too, holding those, because it's just now it becomes a lot more volatile outside of that circle of protection, and people should be trying to protect the value, the core value of their projects, and that's where the meaning of the project is really at the heart of this, and that's what the aqua represent. And so I hope that over time and over the weeks, we begin to translate this better to you guys as the investor, and then you guys will have a really, really true understanding why that aqua has to sit where it sits in the project.
Thanks for clarifying that. Beautiful.
That was pretty long. My bad, Christoph.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate.
Thank you, Christoph. Thank you, Olo. Do we have any more questions? 5 people to flip 44. It doesn't look like we'll be having that today. So do we have any questions before we close tonight's community education series? I think this is series 5, 6. I'm not quite sure. It's 6. Okay, no questions. Thank you everyone for coming in. Thank you, Easy, once again for the very explicit explanations. Thank you, Christoph. Thank you, Daz, for your questions. On this note, we will be calling tonight's AMA to a close. Cheers, and talk to you next Friday. And yeah, next Friday will be super interesting. I know last week we mentioned that we'll be having our senior structural engineer come in to give us to basically take us into what the foundation looks like right now for the city of Atlantis in VR, but we were not able to complete some things on that end, and we are never going to come out here with a presentation that does not look as great as we want it to look, especially with things that have to do with, VR and just representing things as they should be seen. So on that side of things, we should be having Xavier in here next week Friday. I am super hyped about that. I'm super hyped about having him on here, and you should be too. Next week is going to be a ride, so I'm looking forward to see every one of us here. Thank you. Have an amazing day. Cheers.
Thank you, Aronki. Bye for now.